Kujirai Reiko gets up from her bed. She cuts 3 slices off a watermelon, picks the pack of cigarettes from the table, and takes both to the balcony. There she sits down and lights a cigarette. After a while, Kujirai puts on a pretty dress and leaves for work. On her way, she passes a couple of men who are busy watching the news. The news reports that generic Terra has the capability to back up the memories of all human beings, potentially making eternal youth and even immortality a reality. The men nearby discuss rumors that the project is secretly being run by the private sector, a company called Hebenuma Pharmaceutical. After a while, Kujirai arrives at her workplace, Wong Loi Realty Company. Her boss immediately remarks that she's late, warning her that if she doesn't clock in soon, she'll end up like that person in their office who is always late. Just as she's about to punch in, Kudo rushes in, shoves her slightly aside, and clocks in before her, making her officially a minute late from the reporting time. Dude clocked in like he was defusing a bomb. After some time, Kujirai gets up from her seat and hands Kudo the new listings for the day. As he looks through the listings, Kujirai confronts him for his earlier actions. He continues to ignore her until she presses him more, so he promises to buy her lunch. He continues to ignore her, as if she's invisible, until she presses him harder. Finally, he promises to buy her lunch. Bro was ignoring her like she was asking for his Netflix password. Their boss asks Kudo if he knows the second Kowloon isn't exactly a comfortable place to live, yet the number of residents never seems to decrease. He wonders aloud if the residents simply have nowhere else to go. Kujirai, feeling a bit uneasy, takes off her glasses. Kudo, without missing a beat, grins and admits that, honestly, he totally loves Kowloon just the way it is. For lunch, Kujirai and Kudo arrive at a Hawaiian cafe by the name of Aloha. He asks her what this place is. Thus, she tells him that it's recently opened and explains how she saw it on a flyer and wanted to check it out. She bends down to look at the cafe menu, but suddenly, Kudo turns and says they should leave. Apparently, this place didn't pass his vibe check. This disappoints Kujirai, but they still end up at their usual spot, the Tintin Eatery. Kudo is about to start digging in until he looks at Kujirai's face. He stops and asks her about it. The girl annoyedly tells him that she wanted to eat at another place. However, Kudo cuts her sentence off and draws his spoon closer to her, asking her if she doesn't feel the rightness in this plump boiled dumpling in golden broth. At this, she takes off her glasses and rubs her eyes. When Kudo asks her if she's listening to him, she tells him that her glasses prescription has been off all day. Carelessly, he states the possibility that her vision has gotten worse and drinks the broth from his spoon. When Kudo sees Kujirai about to put on the eye drops, he asks her if they're Numa Pharmaceuticals drops. When she confirms, he says in an annoyed tone about how the son, the sketchy director of the Hebenuma Beauty Center, recently took over the company, and he just can't trust them now. In the same tone, he says that all she needs for eye strain is to massage some pressure points. When he tells her that he'll do it for her, she draws back, declining his offer, saying how she knows that he's just going to press with brute strength. And even though they're both hominids, she says that she'd rather not be lumped together with a gorilla like him. He gets up from his seat angrily, yelling at her to stop looking guilty while clearly dissing him. While having food, she tells him about room 205 in Sejong Tower having no tenant for 6 months now. He tells her that it gets the afternoon sun full blast with no AC, and only an oddball would want to live there. With the interior being pretty old as well, she asks him if he didn't fix the door of the apartment on Namgang Street, to which he says that everything is old in Kowloon, and the landlords would be unhappy if they called the maintenance guy for every single flaw. However, he mentions wanting the tenants to be comfortable. As they leave the restaurant, Kujirai reminds them they still have some time and suggests getting tea or something. However, he refuses, saying she should see an optometrist first and that they'll have tea some other day when she can actually see it. Kujirai comes back to her workplace after getting her eyes checked and informs her boss that it's 2020 now. When he exclaims in shock, she affirms and tells him that she'd had a checkup and both of her eyes can see better now, which means she doesn't need to wear glasses anymore. Her boss gets surprised and compliments her for looking nicer without glasses. On the other hand, Kudo takes a brief look at her before saying that he prefers the glasses. After a while, generic Terra is a cube-like thing in the sky. Kujirai and Kudo are on the rooftop to burn some documents. Kudo looks up at generic Terra, saying they'll be punished for building things like that. Kujirai asks her if he's against it. Thus, he confirms it, adding they're using their tax money to make a fake Earth. They both then light their cigarettes. Kujirai wonders aloud how long that place will stay open. When asked what she means, she explains that she is talking about the eatery. For some reason, new stores in Kowloon close faster than Kudo's patience. At this, the boy says that Kowloon is supposed to be a nostalgic place with flickering streetlights, a moldy back alley, and noisy neighbors. He asks her if this all doesn't feel terribly nostalgic, expressing his own thoughts about this feeling being the same as being in love. He continues that it's the same for the residents since they're in love with Kowloon. That's why nothing does and shouldn't change in Kowloon because they don't need anything new here. However, Kujirai casually claims that she doesn't feel nostalgic in Kowloon, but there are times when she does, especially when she's with him. At her words, Kudo shoots her an intense glance. Realizing what she just said, Kujirai quickly adds that she didn't mean it in a weird way. When she turns to him, he walks closer to her. Their faces so close to each other, they can almost look into each other's souls as they maintain the intense eye contact. However, after a moment of silence, he tells her that she's crow's feet. Dude knows exactly how to ruin a romantic moment. The next day, Kujirai arrives at work with her glasses on, which makes her boss confused since she told them about not needing glasses anymore. She answers that they're fake, and she wore them because she just couldn't get used to her face without glasses, so she thought she'd ease in. However, Kudo teases her, asking if she's hiding her crow's feet with glasses, telling her to stop fighting the battle, and calling her a 32-year-old. When Kujirai notices Kudo's cuff is dirty, she informs him about it. However, he tells her that it's his quirk about having to touch 8s. He explains that while walking through Kowloon, he can't resist touching the numbers on the walls like it's his personal quirk, like a bizarre form of street-level bingo. Around their off time, Kudo asks Kujirai how much work she has. Hence, she answers that she'll keep going a bit longer and tells him to go ahead and clock out. However, he gets up and switches off the lights, telling her to hurry up to go eat. While walking to get dinner, Kujirai asks him where they're going since their usual spot is the other way. Without saying a word, he takes a turn and when she follows him. They arrive at a food street named Sunset Avenue. The boy, with a smirk, asks her to let him tell her what makes Kowloon special. They try different foods until Kujirai claims she can't eat anymore. Kudo asks her if she's already giving up and calls it their last stop as he enters a tea house named Goldfish Tea House. The place seems to be expensive, and the man at the counter immediately recognizes Kudo. As Kudo and Kujirai settle down at a table, she looks around the place while the music is playing in the background, whereas Kudo lights a cigarette. The man at the counter, Gwen, places a glass of water in front of them, asking about their orders. Kudo asks for iced coffee and asks Kujirai for her choice. Confusedly, she orders the same. After a while, Gwen places their orders on the table along with a plate of sliced watermelon, which is on service. Kujirai feels happy about the watermelon and quickly takes a bite. Kudo looks at her excitement and asks her if he didn't just say she couldn't eat anymore. In her response, she claims that watermelons are mostly water, so it's practically a drink. He chuckles at her answer, calling it convenient. Watching him chuckle unexpectedly, Kujirai blushes and again feels something nostalgic. She also lights up her cigarette and enthusiastically tells Kudo that it tastes good to smoke after eating some watermelon. He displays a confused look, so she asks if he thinks it's weird. However, he refuses, saying he remembers there was someone else who said the same things. This also makes her confused. Thus, the girl says that she's never heard anyone else say that. He mentions that he likes a little quirk like that since it can make you happy and makes you remember the person with that quirk. As they're leaving, Kujirai stays behind and thanks Gwen for the watermelon. He acknowledges and states he's happy that Kudo brought his girlfriend again. She's surprised by his words, but before she could deny his claim, Kudo calls her out. On their way, she tells him how the waiter thought of her as Kudo's girlfriend. When he just laughs about it, she blushingly asks him if he doesn't need to correct Gwen since it'd be awkward when he goes back with his real girlfriend. However, Kudo just tells her that it isn't something she needs to worry about, and walks ahead. When Kujirai turns around, she looks at the sky and feels something off about the generic Terra, until Kudo comes back with a fish and gives it to her as a souvenir. The next morning, the Kowloon Environment Management Center announces that a photochemical smog warning has been issued, as well as a heat and high humidity advisory. They ask the residents to refrain from outdoor activities and be cautious of indoor heat stroke. Kujirai is painting the walls of an empty apartment, but before she could paint the last wall, it's already nighttime. As she gets up, the heat gets to her and she faints. Fortunately, Kudo appears on time and quickly catches her midair. As he looks down at her, he casually informs her she is already done. With a grin, he adds that heroes always show up late, but she doesn't have to worry. He is sure she'd have called him just as soon as she hit the ground. After some time, they are sitting together. The boy hands her a drink and asks her what's gotten into her. Thus, she replies that she wants the tenant to be comfortable since it's a second-hand line from a certain someone. He then picks up the paint roller and starts painting the last wall, whereas Kujirai sits down to rest. She rests her arms at her bent-up knees, and on its top rests her head. She sighs, reluctantly admitting that she's fallen for Kudo, because apparently her bad decisions have a type. Girl, you are in deep trouble. Better start digging that hole you're about to fall into. The next morning, she passes through the streets and stops in front of her workplace, recalling the tea house being there. Anyways, she steps inside with a greeting and finds the office empty, except for Kudo sleeping on the couch. She tries waking him up, but he doesn't budge an inch, so she gets a silly idea. She changes her voice to that of their boss and tries waking him up again. He slowly opens his eyes and pulls her into a passionate kiss. Bro flipped the situation completely in his favor. Kujirai tries resisting since she knows Kudo isn't fully awake. As soon as he realizes who he's kissing, he immediately pushes her off and sits up. Before leaving, he apologizes to her, saying he mistook her for someone else, leaving her flabbergasted. Seriously, dude, if you're gonna mess up, at least have the decency to own it instead of acting like you're the victim. Around off time, he asks for her suggestion and tries to act normal. She suggests minced pork over rice. He likes the idea and walks out, whereas she feels silly over being hung up about the kiss. Suddenly, some documents fall off Kudo's desk, and when she turns to pick them up, she spots a photograph of him with a girl. While going home, she comes across the same tea house. Thus, she storms inside, shoves the photograph in Gwen's face, and the boy instantly recognizes it as the one he snapped during her and Kudo's engagement. On hearing this, Kujirai is left puzzled about what's going on. Xiaohei was fed. She had tried sleeping with earplugs, noise-canceling headphones, and even those weird sleep meditation videos with frogs croaking in the background. But her neighbors were just too much. Someone was either rearranging furniture, hosting midnight karaoke, or practicing tap dancing. Possibly all three, so she ends up calling Kujirai to complain about the noise. Recently, her neighbors have been really noisy at night, and she can't really take it anymore, so Kujirai assures her he will take a look into the street Nayamkang where Xiaohei lives. Upon arriving at Namkang Street's room number 16, there, she meets a woman named Yaome, but Yaome wasn't in distress or involved in a late-night ruckus. Instead, she is surrounded by dolls. Dolls everywhere. Heads, limbs, dresses, and a small mountain of buttons. It looked like a tiny factory exploded. Kujirai blinks, takes a deep breath, and offers a polite greeting. The air smelled like fabric glue and faint nostalgia. Kujirai greeted her politely, but she hesitated to bring up what she had come for. Instead, she slowly slid a photo across the table toward Yaome. The girl in the photo looked a lot like Kujirai, but she explained that the man in the photo wasn't someone she was involved with. She said she didn't even remember taking that picture and, more importantly, has no memories of her past. Hearing this, Yaome takes a long pause, but reveals that when Kujirai claims she isn't the one in the picture and has no memories of the past, she is reminded of Yaome's past. Since she has changed herself from top to bottom to remove her past memories, if someone tries reminding her about her past, she would probably deny it, since it is her past and she is the one to decide if she wants to own it or not. She serves Kujirai an egg tart, the same tart she had after having her plastic surgery, eating it like her birthday cake, to start a new life as if she were born that day. Meanwhile, Hajime Kudo is in his office, remembering the first time he met Kujirai when he was transferred from the Kowloon branch to the Japanese branch. She complimented him for having a nice name, claiming 8 is considered a lovely number here too. It sounds similar to Fat Kawaii, as in, may you be rich, while Kujirai takes him for lunch from a shortcut. They even go out for lunch at a day restaurant. There, she advises Kudo that if he wants to get smooth in Kowloon, then playing mahjong is one of the secrets, since they can listen to residents' secrets. She even mentions remembering the shortcuts, because if he wants to have lunch with her daily, then it will always be this restaurant. This shocks Kudo because who lunches at the same restaurant daily? After lunch, Kujirai hands Kudo juice. While he has it, Kujirai lights her cigarette and smokes. Seeing her smoking, they both smoke together, while Kudo hesitantly questions her about any other hints for navigating Kowloon in her book. Her answer shocked Kudo. She thinks that it could be falling in love. A flickering streetlight, a moldy back alley, noisy neighbors, things like that make Kowloon feel nostalgic for her, and this feeling of nostalgia is the same as being in love. She loves Kowloon, so that is her point of view. Though it would be painful to love something knowing it would be gone, rumors had been going around that Kowloon would be demolished soon, which made her words even more bittersweet, as she never thought like this about all of this. Back in the present, Kujirai and Yoame hang out again at a restaurant. Kujirai, being curious about everything, wants the truth, so Yaome suggests she ask Kudo about it, but Kudo not spilling the tea means he wants to hide all of it. But if Kudo wasn't telling her the truth, maybe he had a reason. To make things a little easier for Kujirai, Yaome supposes a situation in which, in the picture, the girl is Kujirai B, and since Kudo and she are engaged, the easiest explanation is that Kujirai B has amnesia, and Kujirai is her, so maybe Kudo is waiting for her memory to come back. If that is the case, it makes sense that he doesn't want to tell Kujirai the truth. Rather than telling the truth and complicating things, it is better to let things be and wait for her to remember. Kujirai gets all of it, but a question disturbs her. Who is she now in Kudo's eyes? At Wanglai Real Estate, Kudo is hungry while working. In that case, Kudo wants to eat his favorite boiled dumplings, but Kujirai suggests that Kudo go out to eat at a new place where some delicious lemon chicken is being sold. It just opened a few days ago. Though Kudo wants to go to the usual one, which makes Kujirai realizes that she senses some kind of nostalgia with him. When she gets to know that he feels the same towards her, she tells him to look at her. Thus, he looks at her seriously. At this, Kudo freezes for a moment, touches her face, but then he ruins the moment by pointing out that she didn't have pierced ears and had crow's feet. Then he announces that we should go and eat some juicy dumplings that are good for her beauty. This boy's got the emotional IQ of a wet sock. Annoyed, she decides to keep working instead of going out for lunch. As he leaves, Kujirai puts the picture of him and her inside his drawer. Before closing the drawer, she looks at it carefully for the very last time. The media is discussing generic Terra, a giant sphere floating above Kowloon, and its technological impact on mankind. To celebrate their participation as advisors on the generic Terra construction project, they are offering free health checkups to all residents, starting that day. At Hebenuma General Medical Center, Kujirai and Yaome wonder if Dr. Hebenuma is there, as he is so popular that it is possible to book consultations with him. Yaome elaborates on him taking over his father's pharmaceutical company. Just then, Shiohei comes running towards Kujirai, so Kujirai explains to Yaome that she lives in one of the apartments her company manages, and they have gotten close. After having all the tests, which include their height test, blood test, and all the last one is to swallow the barium test, which tastes very awful. Kujirai and Yaome overhear a woman promoting her free cosmetic surgery consultants. Remembering Kudo commenting on her crow's feet and about her fine line at the corner of her eyes, Kujirai decides to make an appointment. However, Yaome was already up for it, so it didn't need much convincing for any of them. After all, who needs emotional support when you can have Botox? At the Goldfish Tea House, both Yaome and Kujirai try to find out the person who took Kujirai and Kudo's picture, but they end up finding out that person resigned already, which might have led to some clues. Later on that evening in the market, Kujirai's attention shifts towards a shopkeeper selling earrings. Her mind drifts to when Kudo commented on her non-pierced ear. Seeing her being doubted, Yaome chooses earrings for her that look exactly like Kujirai B had. At the same time, Kudo is shocked to know that Gwen quit from the bar and another guy is replaced, and that the new guy doesn't really know much. Kudo searched since he brokered Gwen's apartment, hoping he hadn't moved yet, but Gwen's apartment listing came up as an error. Kudo's instincts buzzed. Something was off. However, the gate of the office opens, and it is none other than Kujirai. Kudo abruptly notices her earrings and tries to touch them, but stops himself when Kujirai starts yapping that she found them at a street vendor's shop and they are just clip-ons. But to her surprise, Kudo doesn't say much and frustratingly leaves annoyed by the Gwen situation and seeing Kujirai not remembering anything and trying to pretend that she is like before, when she is not. After work, feeling down, Kujirai arrives at Yaome's place. As soon as she opens the door, Kujirai drops those earrings from her hand, calling herself stupid. Her eyes are filled with tears, and she couldn't stop crying as she wasn't expecting that disgusted look on his face, realizing it is pointless to draw Kudo's attention like that. Picking up the earring, Yaome quietly takes her inside her apartment. In another environment, on the other side of town, it started raining. Kudo sat on a curb, soaked and brooding. The sadness on his face is evident, and at the same time, Kujirai hugs herself sadly in her room, thinking about her old self, who was so carefree maybe. She finds a box in which her old uniform, glasses, and earrings were placed. Sadly, she picks that box up and puts it somewhere far from her gaze. The next day, she lights a cigarette on the office rooftop. Kudo joined her, soaked in guilt and cigarette smoke. Hesitantly, he apologizes to her for his rude behavior, clarifying that he was feeling frustrated and took it all out on her, admitting that it was pretty childish. She raised an eyebrow because, wow, that was unexpected. Not seeing the apology coming, Kujirai hesitates too, but confesses that the way he acted was terrible, and she feels that it was childish as well. Hearing her bold reply, Kudo demands to solve the issue nicely rather than arguing so cleverly. Kujirai gives him an option. As an apology, she would like the right to decide where they will be having lunch today. To make him feel guilty, she pretends to be very hurt, revealing that she is craving lemon chicken for lunch. She turned heartbreak into a menu order, emotional jujutsu at its finest. Not having much of a choice, Kudo agrees and also tells her to be ready for dinner too, though Kujirai wasn't expecting the dinner part. Later on that night, Kujirai takes him to the same place she went with Yaome. At first, she was nervous that he might not like it, but as soon as he took the first bite and praised the food, she bragged that she knew he would like it. Not to boost her ego, Kudo declares that he doesn't like it as much as the boiled dumplings. Out of curiosity, he demands to know if she came there alone, but takes a sigh of relief when she reveals that she came there with her friend Yaomi, because what if she had a boyfriend? As soon as they get out of the restaurant, the rain stops, but as she steps on the water, she is about to fall, but is saved by Kudo. When he saved her, she felt a weird kind of familiarity, but ignored it. The next day, the appointment time arrived. Both Yaome and Kujirai can't wait since there are so many anti-aging treatments, yet Yaome instructs Kujirai to fix herself since she is not taking her with her regular makeup on, as it would be rude not to at least put on lipstick to meet Dr. Hebinuma. Taking out the lipstick, Kujirai examines it, realizing it is Kujirai B's lipstick, but ends up putting it on. Her turn comes, and the assistant allows her to go inside Dr. Hebinuma's office. Hebinuma is already aware that she wants to do some anti-aging treatments, but to be specific, she consults her about what is actually bothering her. Without hesitating a bit, she confronts him about her crow's feet, which shocks Hebinuma, but he doesn't show surprise on his face and quietly walks towards her. Without her consent, he touches her face, rubbing it, realizing that her skin glows and has warmth to it. He then questions her about her family structure, but when she reveals her missing memory, he apologizes since he has no expertise in it, and elaborates that she has no wrinkled history. To explain it more, he briefly explains that wrinkles typically form slowly throughout daily life, but Kujirai's wrinkles are different. It is like they existed from her beginning. They are like mere grooves on the skin. He tells her that she has wrinkles with no history. If she also has missing memories, it is possible that those memories never existed in the first place. Though he assures her that all of it doesn't matter, because what matters is her existing right now. In an instant, he starts rubbing her face again, smearing her lipstick. This behavior of his makes Kujirai realize that this guy is a pervert, and this was the final straw for Kujirai, so she ends up running out of the clinic with Yaome. At the same time, the doctor looked at her leaving the place, smirking and smudging that same finger on his lips with which he smeared her lipstick. If red flags were a medical condition, he'd be in critical condition. The old man thanked Hajime Kudoku sincerely for his help, bowing slightly in appreciation. His smile, though weathered by years, carried genuine warmth. Reiko Kujirai, standing nearby, lightly teased him, urging the old man to ask for help more openly next time. She emphasized that Kudoku was here now, and he'd fix things without hesitation. The old man chuckled and muttered how lucky they were to have someone like her around, though he quietly admitted it was a bit intense to have such a hardworking senior co-worker. Dude was starting to think she ran on battery packs and coffee instead of blood. Later on, Reiko casually mentions to Kaduko how excited everyone was about the new addition to their mahjong games. There was something about him, a quiet charm that instantly won over the elders. She then tells him that he is the kind of person who doesn't just enter a room, but lit it up. Kaduko laughed at this, but then suddenly collapsed onto the ground as he became overwhelmed by dizziness, perhaps from the sudden heat. Reiko becomes concerned after seeing his condition. Thus, she quickly offered to take him to her house for a short break and insisted he shouldn't push himself too hard. They both walked slowly to her apartment, the air thick and warm, making his legs feel heavier. As they reached the door, Kaduko hesitated, feeling awkward about stepping into a lady's home. Dude acted like stepping over this threshold would trigger a marriage proposal. Reiko brushed off his concerns, telling him it was fine and it was not a big deal. They then went inside, and the first thing the boy did was to wipe the sweat from his face and take a deep breath. Boy looked like he'd just fought a dragon, but really, it was just the sun. Reiko tells him to feel at home and get some cold water from the fridge. Thus, Kaduko walks over, opens the fridge, and pours himself a glass. As he sipped, his eyes wandered around her apartment. It feels clean and minimalistic. Surprisingly, there were no plush toys, no soft dolls, nothing cutesy at all, just furniture and plants, neatly arranged. Not a single stuffed animal, truly a mystery deeper than most crime dramas. Reiko sat beside him after changing into more casual clothes. She then asked him how he felt after spending a week in Kowloon. Kaduko leaned back and smiled. He admitted that the place was different and strange, but somehow comforting. He had never felt this kind of nostalgic pull before, something warm and familiar yet hard to place. Reiko nodded thoughtfully. She says nostalgia isn't only about memories, it's more than that. It's like a soft ache in your chest, as though something old and buried had returned. According to her, that feeling was a lot like falling in love. If nostalgia is a soft ache like falling in love, no wonder old love songs hit us right in the feels. The next day, Reiko greeted Kaduko with her usual cheerfulness, but before their conversation could go any further, Der Hebenuma arrived, appearing as flashy and self-important as always. He had just arranged a new location for the Hebenuma Clinic, which had now opened nearby and even planned to open another one soon in Kowloon. As he approached, his eyes fixed firmly on Reiko with an intensity that made Kaduko clench his fists. Dude's jealousy just went from 0 to "don't make me unleash my inner Hulk real quick." Hebenuma smirks and says that the more he looks at her, the prettier she seems to get. Kaduko stands his ground and stares at him, annoyed. Without warning, Hebenuma casually sprays some sanitizing mist in the air, apparently a habit of his now. When words fail, disinfectants speak. In an unexpected move, Hebenuma suddenly grabbed Reiko, pulled her in, and kissed her. Did someone skip a few chapters? Because that escalated faster than a microwave countdown in 1 second. Funnily, Reiko freezes as he becomes shocked. Hebenuma tells her that she should choose him instead of Kaduko, because at least he noticed her new lipstick. His assistant watched, wide-eyed, not believing what had just happened. Same, bro, same. I was not emotionally prepared for this twist. Hebenuma just chuckled and said, "It's in a snake's nature to swallow what it wants." He then tells his assistant to bring new gloves and masks, saying the air felt bad here. Meanwhile, Kaduko's anger surged. His fists were clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white. His boss stepped in, placing a hand on his shoulder, trying to diffuse the tension. Love triangles were bad enough. Now they're adding snakes and sanitizers to the mix. Later, Reiko and Kaduko browsed through the fascinating collection of items the old man was selling at his roadside shop. From dusty vases to old radios, it was a small treasure trove. Reiko finds a fish tank she likes. It is a bit heavy, and she isn't sure how to carry it home, but before she can say anything, Kaduko offers to help her. He mentions that today is his day off, so he has the time. Hearing that, Reiko adds a broom to her purchases. The old man is pleasantly surprised by how hardworking Kaduko is, and compliments him for being such a reliable junior. Kaduko didn't sign up for weightlifting, but here he was carrying half a pet store. They reach Reiko's apartment again, but this time, she asks Kaduko to wait outside for a moment. After a short while, she invites him in and instructs him to take off his slippers and leave the inner door open. Kaduko follows her lead, walks in, and spots a slice of watermelon in the fridge. The boy then politely asks Reiko if he can have it. The watermelon had been waiting for this moment like a fruit in a romantic drama. They both then moved to the balcony, cigarettes in hand. The breeze was soft, and for a while, there was silence. Reiko informs him that the room they painted together in Saijong Tower has finally found a tenant. Kaduko asks about the fish. At this, Reiko looks at it swimming lazily in the new tank and decides to name it Success. Naming a fish Success? Now that's setting the bar high for a creature that mostly just swims in circles. The girl said the name just came to her. Kaduko chuckles and thanks her again for the slice of watermelon before heading home. As he left, Reiko softly murmured that she hoped he'd come back soon. The next day, Reiko brought Kaduko a small potted flower as a thank you for helping with the fish tank. Kaduko, not confident in his plant-keeping skills, asked how often he needed to water it. Reiko laughs at this and tells him that just once every 2 days would be enough. Xiaohei joins them then, voicing her frustration about needing a bigger place as her clothes just didn't fit in her current apartment anymore. Apparently, her wardrobe had more plot lines than a TV series. Xiaohei notices the flower and admires it, saying it looks beautiful. Thus, Kaduko offers it to her, but she declines. Then she casually mentions that sunflowers represent someone watching you with focused attention. Reiko looks confused as she hadn't known that before giving it to Kaduko. Flustered, she invited Xiaohei to come view some available apartments she had lined up. Suddenly, a flower became the neighborhood's top gossip source. Reiko led Xiaohei through a few apartments. One of them, a corner unit filled with natural light, seemed perfect. It was quiet too, being away from the main road. But Xiaohei wasn't satisfied and remained picky. Reiko sighed as this was the 7th apartment she had shown her already. She gently suggested that maybe Xiaohei could consider moving outside of Kowloon, somewhere like downtown Hong Kong. Reiko explained how working part-time with fewer responsibilities might give her more freedom. But Xiaohei firmly replied that she didn't want to leave Kowloon. She turned down more apartments than reality TV contestants turned down true love. Kaduko later called Reiko and asked if Xiaohei had made a decision yet. He knew of a nice room, a corner unit at number 2, Nam Kang Street. Reiko and Xiaohei agreed to check it out together with him. They examined the space, noting how it was a bit tight after adding a bed and a wardrobe. But Xiaohei thought about it and eventually agreed. She wasn't home much anyway, and there was a rooftop space that instantly cheered her up. She looked down at the sunflowers swaying below and said they all seemed to be looking up at them. Reiko smiled, remembering the language of flowers. Even the flowers were joining the romantic subplot. Later, Reiko stepped out to grab a watermelon juice. While fumbling through her pocket for coins, one slipped out and rolled to the pavement. A man wearing a green outfit and a mask stooped down, picked it up, and playfully tossed it between his fingers before returning it to her. That same day, news broke of a new president, an adopted child of a mistress whose parents had died in a tragic accident. A photo of him and his parents stirred familiar feelings. Miyuki later asked if he had let the article go to print intentionally. He said he felt something strange about Reiko. Her scent, her presence, her color, all seemed deeply familiar. He'd gone back to his former workplace to gather more information. Someone who worked there 2 weeks ago had mysteriously disappeared. He wanted to dig deeper, but knew it might raise suspicions. The mask helped him stay hidden, but he feared that running into the wrong person would expose everything. Miyuki made another call, following up on an investigation into Reiko Kujirai. On the other hand, Kaduko turns to the old man and asks if Gwen from the Goldfish Tea House has moved. The old man blinked slowly, as if accessing dial-up memory, then shook his head, as he said that he had no clue about this. The old man then suggests that Kaduko ask the neighbors. The fact is, neighbors got a gossip radar sharper than a samurai sword. Meanwhile, Reiko encounters the masked man, who turns out to be the server from the tea house. She tells him they'd only met twice, yet she had a strange feeling that he knew her longer than that. He confirms her suspicion, as he knew her well and was familiar with her relationship with Kudoku. But he then sighed sadly and said the Reiko he had once known no longer existed. He pointed out that the beauty spot on her face was the same as before. He felt sorry for her, saying she might be living someone else's life without even realizing it. Dude basically told her she's in a soap opera but forgot to check the script. The next day, Reiko and Kaduko are working on clearing trash. Reiko's vision blurred as she hadn't slept properly the night before. Kaduko notices this and asks her to wear her glasses. However, Reiko hesitated, then she quietly confessed that she wasn't really the Reiko Kujirai he thought she was. She felt like everything in her life, from her apartment to the fish tank to her feelings for him, belonged to someone else. Kaduko gently tries to convince her it was just an illusion, a moment of confusion. But Reiko shook her head. She says no illusion could ever make her chest tighten like this, make her heart race with every glance he gave, or leave her aching for his presence like he was air and she'd forgotten how to breathe. With tears spilling over, she confesses her love. Then suddenly, overwhelmed by it all, she collapsed into his arms like her heart had finally exhaled. Love confessions are hard. Fainting right after them is next-level drama. Kujirai treats Kudo, apologizing for throwing him a welcome party after 2 months, saying that the branch manager leaves work right on the dot. They ordered shelled shrimp as they both enjoyed the date. Kudo mentions how their mahjong friends mentioned there's a chance that Kowloon might be demolished. Kujirai tells him about how it has already happened once in 1994 that the official name for the current Kowloon is the second Kowloon walled city. She informs him how Kowloon was recreated illegally after it was removed. Kudo asks that the city is kind of anachronistic and it wouldn't hurt if it were gone. So why did they build it again? She tells him that it's because deep down, everyone wants to go back to nostalgia, so it's not easy to remove it even if someone wants it to be. Nostalgia has squatters' rights. Kujirai stumbles as she is drunk. Kudo asks her if she is okay. At this, the girl asks him about his go-to spot, saying that they serve alcohol there too. Thus, she suggests that they should go there. However, Kudo politely refuses, saying that they will have to walk a bit, and she's drunk enough and he hasn't gone there enough to call himself a regular. Kujirai tugs his tie as their lips meet somewhere in the middle. She smiles and says that Kudo is well loved by his elders. Funnily, the boy becomes flustered. They then lean in for another kiss. The next morning, Reko opens her eyes to find Kudo sitting on a chair, sleeping uncomfortably. He wakes up, saying good morning to her. Reko nervously replies. She then asks where she is. Thus, Kudo tells her that she's in his apartment and he took her back when she fell asleep on the rooftop yesterday. He asks if she pulled an all-nighter. However, Reko replies that she hadn't gotten enough sleep. Kudo gets serious as he asks if he should now tell her about Kujirai. She remembers their picture together as her heart starts to beat loudly. She refuses him. At this, he stands up, saying that he's going to work and that she should go and get rest. She asks for her keys, but Kudo gives her a spare one, asking if she wants to know why he has a spare pair. She grabs the key and says that she's sure. Kudo tells her that he left the spare key to his room on the table and tells her to leave the key in the mailbox. Miyuki and Gwen stroll in the street as Miyuki asks if the outfits were necessary, as he looks up and down at their Hawaiian look. Gwen smiles, saying that they're in disguise. Suddenly, Gwen starts warning him, saying that Miyuki shouldn't come around Kowloon alone. Miyuki asks why he should do that. Gwen seriously starts saying that he might bump into the second version of himself, and fake Reko is in love with Kudo too, so his fake version might also hit on Miyuki. Miyuki smiles at this, saying that he would be interested to find out if the second version of him would be interested in him. The more samples he has, the better. Gwen groans as he follows Miyuki. They reach the Goldfish Tea House as Miyuki asks if this is the place. Gwen tells him that the exterior looks the same, saying that they can't inspect the interior, but they can check the back door. In Kowloon, even tea shops come with plot twists out back. They head to the back, only for Gwen to stop in his tracks, eyes narrowing as he says that the shelter he built for the cats to keep them out of the rain is gone. He then says, voice low with disbelief, that not even a scrap was left behind, like it was never there at all. The boy says that this Kowloon is not the Kowloon he knows, and there are also other things that feel off. He shows Miyuki that the product they launched 3 years ago is being sold as a new product. Miyuki says that the peculiarities of Kowloon lead to a number of logistical quirks, and it's not strange to see a product released 3 years ago marketed as new. Time travel in Kowloon comes with a price tag and 0 warranty. Gwen tries to make a point, saying that things feel shabbier than when he lived here. As they step out of the medical store, Gwen suddenly says that even Reko's beauty mark is identical. This shocks Miyuki. Thus, he asks if they both have the same beauty mark. Gwen tells him about the same beauty mark she has under her left eye. Miyuki tells him that moles are not duplicated in a clone. He smiles, saying that this might be very entertaining indeed, saying that she has the same appearance, voice, and warmth as the one he once remembered, and she also loves Kudo like she used to, but she doesn't have a memory of his love. He asks if Gwen can imagine the utter despair of Kudo. Nothing screams heartbreak like dating someone who looks like your ex and doesn't remember dumping you. Kudo smokes on the balcony as he hears the laughs coming from the inside. Yaomei exclaims that this is a good place to work in. Reko admits that she was right and asks Xiaohei for a recommendation for a job as a seamstress. She tells her that there's no quota, but they pay for overtime. She says that Reko looks refreshed and asks if something good happened. Reko suddenly gets serious as she tells her that Kujirai-B is a different person from her, and she seems to have passed away already. Yaomei lets out a cry, saying that it's scary to live in a dead person's room. Reko tells her that Kudo seemed to know about this too. She asks if Reko confirmed her suspicion, as she remembers how she refused to know anything about Kujirai. She tells Yaomei that it felt like she would disappear if she got to know something. She tells Yaomei that she will become her absolute self. Yaomei asks about what absolute self means. She starts explaining, saying if she does something and regrets it, but if her decision was absolute, then it wasn't a mistake. Absolute means trusting herself and seeing things through. And even for 1 second, she wants to be able to say that she is her and not someone else. Yaomei smiles, saying that it's wonderful, but looking identical to someone and having memories of the past is still a mystery, and asks where she has come from. Reko replies that the director of Hebanuma mentioned before that her wrinkles looked like they were there from the beginning. She looks around, saying that the room is too, and that she can't remember when she started living here, but she knows where everything is placed. She says that it's as if she had been created to match the life of Kujirai-B. Yaomei asks if she is a clone, as she tells her about the online post she read, and found it sketchy that says that they're planning clone research with Gene Terra Project and called them Zirconian. Reko wonders if the name comes from zirconia, the artificial gem. Yaomei laughs, saying that she's wearing zirconia today as well. Reko calls them fake diamonds. She wonders if she was created as a fake from the beginning. She then sadly asks if it's too much for her to ask to be a real thing. Suddenly, Yaomei gets up and tells her to close the lights and join her. They both lay in the bed as Yaomei takes her earring off. She shows it to Reko as the diamond shines in the dark light. Reko calls it pretty. Yaomei says that zirconia might be a fake that looks like a diamond, but she likes it, and says that maybe she feels affinity to it because she is a result of plastic surgery, which encourages her that even a fake can sparkle so brightly. She turns to Reko as she starts saying that there are a lot of people in the world who say a fake is nothing but a fake, but there are people like her who see genuine sparkle in a fake. Reko smiles sincerely, thanking Yaomei for her kind words. Home is where your fake past fits like a glove. The next morning, Kudo enters the office as Reko greets him. He asks how she's feeling today. Thus, Reko tells him that meeting Yaomei cheered her, and she is also going to eat lunch with her. After a hectic day, Kudo eats his lunch and walks towards the office as he hears Yaomei's laugh and suddenly hides in a corner so as not to meet their eyes. Yaomei says they should bring a table and have a party on Xiaohei's rooftop. Reko says that it's a good idea. Yaomei asks her if she's going to invite Kudo. She replies that she will see. As they both pass, Kudo hides in a corner. Kudo looks down, asking himself why he hid from them in the first place. The girls reach the vending machine as Yaomei suggests that she should move out of the room, leaving both Reko and Kudo in shock. Yaomei says that she should throw all the stuff away and buy new ones, saying that she should create a room of her own and not a hand-me-down from Kujirai. She meekly replies that she wants to keep the room as it is. Yaomei asks if she's doing it for Kudo's sake, but Reko says that she's doing it for Kujirai-B's sake, saying that she no longer exists in this world, to make the room feel like her fragment for her, and if that room goes away, her presence itself will be completely erased from the world, and she understands how scary it can be. After the break, Kudo smokes another cigarette on the balcony as Reko approaches him. He asks if the new lunch was good. Reko replies that it was and asks if he's able to come to Xiaohei's housewarming party. She tells him that there would be Xiaohei, Yaomei, and her. He coughs, saying that he'll pass and they should have fun on their own. He says that he'll be willing to contribute as he takes out a hefty amount and gives it to her. She says that it's too much. Kudo replies that it's a special favor, making her smile. She suddenly remembers about her screening and runs away, saying thanks to him. He remembers the previous Reko standing there smoking with him and sadly looks down. Yaomei thinks about what Reko says about her keeping Kujirai-B's things and thinks about how her life is being bound by her. The girls cheer at the party table as Kudo weakly joins them. Reko asks why he's here, to which he replies that Xiaohei forced him. Yaomei serves them dinner and brings the parchment form for her new room. She politely declines the offer. Yaomei asks Kudo for his opinion as Reko tries to stop her. Kudo calmly says that if she hates the room, then she should move out. Reko says that she doesn't hate it and she's not moving out. After the dinner, they split into 2 teams to throw the trash and do the dishes. Reko and Kudo take out the trash, and both look at the full moon. Reko looks at Hebanuma's billboard and mentions Miyuki trying to open another clinic in Kowloon. Kudo remembers the day when he kissed her as she weakly smiles at the memory. He suddenly approaches her and corners her and exhaling a puff, saying that she leaves herself too open. He looks at the moon, asking how the moon shines because of the sun's light, but how is generic Terra shining so brightly? Reko replies that it's because they all have high hopes for it and its growth. Later on, Kudo hums a song to himself as he remembers Kujirai and laughs to himself, asking if he really has high hopes for generic Terra. The next day, Reko joins Kudo for the boiled dumplings as he hangs out with old guys. She asks about Mr. Chan's absence. As Mr. Chan enters the Hebanuma clinic, Miyuki welcomes him. He asks if they found something about his health. Just then, he gets a call, telling Miyuki that his secretary has brought Mr. Chan and they're entering Kowloon in a moment. Miyuki smiles, conversing with Mr. Chan in front as he tells the person on the call to enter. Suddenly, the Mr. Chan in front disappears, confirming their suspicions. He tells Gwen to come out and tells him that he should be relieved that his second version is not in Kowloon. Miyuki then asks how Kujirai died. Gwen replies that he's not the one to tell, but he's sure that it was a mistake. Reko tags along with Kudo as they check on Mr. Chan's home and find him nowhere. He tells her that he must be dead in his room. Reko scolds him as he laughs, saying that people can die easily. He stops walking and without turning around, confesses that he was the one who killed Kujirai, leaving her in shock. Kudo dropped the mic and the murder confession like it was part of small talk. Hajime Kudo says that Kujirai Reko was killed by him and then turns to face a shocked-looking Reko. He smiles and asks what she would do if it was true. She weakly laughs and asks what he's trying to say. Kudo laughs and says that Kujirai is no longer in this world, and this is the truth. Reko remembers the Polaroid and how happy they both looked in it. She asks if he does not want to forget her, and then quickly apologizes for not knowing well enough and still making assumptions. She looks at him as Kudo stares at her with an unreadable expression, then turns around to go his way, saying his goodbye. Yaume pronounces that Kudo must be the murderer. Reko smiles, asking why he would kill his fiancée. Yaume says that it must be the reason why, because there is a very thin line between love and hate. And what Reko sees about him might not be his true self, and him living in Kowloon must mean that he is hiding some secrets. She nods to herself, saying that Hajime Kudo looks like someone who would return to the crime scene after killing someone. Reko shakes her head, saying that Kudo can never do something like this, because if he did so, he wouldn't look at her with that expression. She laughs it off, saying that Kudo was just joking. Yaume admits that the joke is going too far. He's the kind of guy who'd apologize to a plant after stepping on its shadow, definitely not a killer. After a while, Reko leaves Yaume's apartment, bidding her goodbye. Reko walks alone thinking that she has seen that expression on Kudo once before, and remembers the time when she told him that her ears are not pierced, but the earrings are clip-ons, and how he had looked at her with the same longing expression without saying anything, just reaching for something. She thinks how this expression of Kudo must be the one that only she knows about. She blushes, thinking that it's weird to feel happy in such a situation, then thinks that she wants to know the side of Kudo that no one knows about, that not even Kujirai knew about. And although this thought is frightening enough, later, Reko turns around on her bed as she sits down looking at the bookshelf. She thinks about how she hasn't read a single book in Kujirai B's shelf and that they are all detective books. She takes the book in her hand and starts reading, and then stands up to get more comfortable in her bed. The novel shows how the killer steps towards the victim, and she thinks about how Kudo must have done something like this. She is brought back to reality by her phone. Yaume messages her that she is coming to her place and if she wants anything. She messages her back and brings the book back to the shelf, but something shiny caught her eye. She grabs the ring from the innermost corner and inspects it. She is shocked by the diamond ring, but puts it on the table when the room shakes lightly. She gets distracted thinking it's an earthquake. Plot twist: it's not an earthquake, just emotional tension breaking the laws of physics. The next morning, both Reko and Hajime greet each other with heavy dark circles. They reach their station as Kudo says that he has been sleeping very lightly. Reko also shares that she read a book last night. Kudo asks more about the book as she shares that it's a detective book and asks if he could tell her about any bookstore nearby that sells Japanese books. The girl tells him that she read the first version and wants to read the second volume. He tells her that he knows a bookstore. Hajime Kudo awkwardly looks at the glaring Yaomei as Reko tries to cool her down. Yaomei angrily asks if he has any problem if she tags along. Kudo meekly replies that he didn't even say anything as he passes the umbrella, telling that the piping is very old and it's not surprising if anything falls from above. They reach the bookstore. Kudo opens the door greeting as Xiaohei replies, saying that it's just them. Kudo asks if she is working here. Reko asks about the Japanese books. Xiaohei tells her about the location as she goes over to the shelf and finds the book. She opens the book only to find a bunch of codes written in it. Kudo takes the book and says that he has read the book before and the ending was boring. He starts telling who the culprit is, but Reko stops him, saying that it is on her to decide if the book is boring or not. She said that she will definitely find a readable book. She turns around to find something else as her eyes caught a book with a cover of foreign countries. Yaomei angrily asks why he is so fixed on Reko. Kudo remembers how Kujirai wanted to travel the world. He tells Reko that the book is outdated, so the information must not be credible. But Yaomei scolds him again. After a while, Reko and Yaomei sit at a cafe as Reko exclaims how unfortunate it is that she can't read the second volume. Yaomei says that she should give up because it was Kujirai B's book anyway, and it doesn't matter if she reads it or not. However, Reko smiles, saying that she is really curious about what happened next, and she has already read half of it, so it's hard to go back now. Girl, I get it. Leaving a book halfway is like walking out of a gossip session right before the juicy part. Spiritually illegal. Yaomei starts saying that Reko is always very tolerant towards Kujirai B when they are supposed to be rivals in love. Thus, Reko replies that she simply wants to know what kind of person she was and what kind of person she is. Also, she wants to know what kind of person Kudo is. She tells her that she wants to explore them all on her own. Yaomei calls her greedy. At this, Reko teases her that she is also like that. Further, she tells her that trying to live is greedy. Miyuki gets in the elevator as Gwen flirtatiously tells him to be careful on the road and says that he will be watching him on TV. Miyuki smiles and says that he's heading now as the elevator closes. Miyuki's servants look at Gwen, saying that Miyuki has gone gentler these days and that he has also become kinder. They say that it must be because of Gwen. At this, Gwen's face lit up with a proud smile as he states that this must be it. The host starts the show, Beauty Concerns Before versus Now, and introduces Miyuki, renowned for Generon Terra. He smiles and greets the audience as they move on to the first consultant. She tells him that because of her face shape, she seems aloof, and she wishes to leave others with a softer impression. Miyuki tells her that she is charming enough as she is right now, but she can have double eyelid surgery or consider eye drop surgery that can help her reshape the jawline to make the contour rounder. He drops all the information on his computer as it gives them an after-surgery picture and asks if she is satisfied with the impression now. The client says that she is also concerned about the droop of her mouth corners. Miyuki asks if she likes dogs. The girl smiles and replies that she does. Miyuki says that compared to plastic surgery, adjusting the mindset is the most effective. He assures her that her smile is very beautiful. The client blushes as the other doctor starts saying that keeping a smile can solve problems. That is only applicable to those who are born beautiful, and only those who are blessed can say stuff like this. He turns towards Miyuki and says that he is from a wealthy family, and it's because his parents gave him everything that he can say stuff like this. Miyuki squints his eyes and asks if he's implying that he was given everything. The person, Sean, laughs, saying that the heirs are just copies of the previous generations. The boy then starts praising himself. Funnily, Miyuki kicks him, throwing him to the ground and leaving the host in shock. Honestly, dude had it coming. That kick was karma wearing steel-toed boots. Miyuki says that being given everything doesn't mean being blessed, because when someone is given everything, something else might be taken away. The staff tries to help Sean as the host calls for a commercial break. Turns out beauty talk shows can double as MMA tournaments now. All the servants look at the TV as Gwen laughs, asking if they are saying he has become gentle. On the other side, Kudo asks what just happened, looking at the TV, as Yaomei admits that she understands what Miyuki was trying to say. Because when you acquire something, it means that something else might be taken away. Reko asks what could be taken away. Yaomei looks down and answers that the self is taken away because living a life planned by others means that your original life is taken away from you. Reko thinks that Yaomei is talking about her, and Kujirai-B they start getting up as the server approaches them with complimentary movie tickets, telling them that an old movie, A Butterfly Dream, is being re-released. Reko takes the tickets and looks at the cover actress. She says that the actress is beautiful, as the server tells her that she is very popular. She turns towards Yaomei to ask if she wants to go watch the movie. Surprisingly, Yaomei looks at her with tears in her eyes, and for some reason, she refuses her. Later, Reko watches the movie alone and meets Yaomei at the fabric store, telling her that the leading actress, Yang is super beautiful, and she should definitely go watch it. Yaomei takes a fabric as Reko tells her that there was a cheongsam with a similar pattern to this fabric, and there were many costumes that she would like to see in the movie. Yaomei gets annoyed and says that this is what she likes. She then angrily says that Reko has no time to watch a movie and she should be investigating the matter of Kujirai-B. She starts lashing out, asking if she has thought about moving out since the last time they talked about it, saying that Kujirai-B is gone from the world and is not worried that she will be gone too, like she is worried about being gone. Reko asks why she is worried about that. Yaomei says that since she has no past, she can be at ease. Reko tries to ask her, but she turns around, leaving the store, saying that she won't understand her worries. Nothing says emotional breakdown like yelling in a fabric store surrounded by polka dots. Yaomei runs away as she sees all the eyes on her. While running, she thinks about her past and how she resembled her mother so much that her mother truly overtook her personality and her likes. She remembers how her mother was a famous actress in A Butterfly Dream, but after getting old, she tries to push that narrative on Yaomei to the extent where she can't even wear something she likes. Yaomei cries, thinking about how she's still running away from her past. On the other hand, Reko messages Yaomei but doesn't get a reply. She stops at the jewelry store and takes the zirconia diamond, thinking about all that Yaomei has said in the past. Reko looks at the zirconia and thinks about how she only knows about her current self and not her past self. She wonders what she can give to Yaomei. Later on at lunch, Reko asks Kudo if he remembers the last time they talked about self taken away with Yaomei. She says that she wants to give something to one who feels like she is taken away. She then asks the boy if he would be troubled by that. Kudo tells her that it depends on what she gives to Yaomei. Reko says that since she doesn't understand the feeling, she doesn't know what to give her. Thus, Kudo tells her to go and explain everything to Yaomei. Reko agrees to this and says that she will talk to Yaomei. Later that day, Reko visits Yaomei's apartment and rings the bell, saying that she brought an egg tart. However, Yaomei says that she won't be able to talk because right now she's someone Reko doesn't know. Yaomei looks at the mirror, which reflects her old self with black hair and her mother's similar beauty. She asks what Reko thinks about her. Reko replies that the Yaomei she knows is cheerful and graceful and full of confidence that she's a charming woman who can express herself. Yaomei replies that it's all fake, and the real her has no confidence that she can even dare to say what things she likes. Reko says that the Yaomei she knows strives to turn fake into a real one, and a person who strives to become her ideal self will never be fake. She says that she might not know about her past, but she's sure about her future. And the last time they talked about it, Yaomei said that she can see the beauty of the fake. Hence, Reko asks her if those words were also not true. At this, Yaomei cries as she opens her door, hugging Reko, saying that her words were real. Later on, Reko takes her to the earring shop, asking what she likes. She reluctantly chooses the pearl set, as Reko says that it would suit her. On the other hand, Miyuki sits in the car as he gets a call from his father asking him about what happened on the show. His father tells him to meet him immediately. Miyuki tells his father that he is aware of his silly show, but thought that the connection with the TV station might come in handy this time and tells him to act like a Hebinuma. Miyuki replies that he will take it to heart. His father calls him close. Thus, he comes kneeling in front of him. Holding his hand, Miyuki informs him that they are currently gathering information on this matter and are not completely ready to present. His father warns him not to take him as a lonely man who can't do anything. He says that it doesn't have to be Zirconians who bow. Still holding his hand, the man tells him quietly that he should not take his father lightly. He has excelled in Orthodox ones as well and warns Miyuki that he knows that much. He then asks him about his new pet. The new pet in question welcomes him home as Miyuki goes straight to hug him, and he embraces him on his shoulder. The room, though silent, feels warmer than it has in years. Later, Gwen asks Miyuki if he went to his father's house. Gwen then tells the boy that he must be tired and should go straight to bed. The next morning, Gwen wakes up. Surprisingly, he finds his bags packed with worried-looking maids staring at him. One of them, clutching the hem of her apron, stammers that it's for his own safety. He angrily goes to Miyuki's office, where he recalls that Miyuki still hasn't given him any palimony, so that must be why he's still here. Gwen angrily throws his phone away and asks if Miyuki's messing with him and tells him to talk if something happened with his dad. Gwen angrily says that he knows revenge isn't what Miyuki wants to live for. Miyuki replies that he will decide what he wants to live for, and it's not his business, so he should not meddle in it. Gwen begs him, saying he's destroying his future and to choose him over revenge, but Miyuki doesn't listen. Gwen assures Miyuki that he will follow him everywhere, and he promises him to which Miyuki replies that he should not make promises like that, and he won't be able to go anywhere like that. Gwen uses force, saying that pain helps him remember. That's why he has scales and snakes carved on his body. Gwen turns around, tells him that he loves him, and leaves. Gwen's love language is emotional whiplash and bad decisions. Later, he's lying on his bed, wondering. He thinks about what Miyuki told him today and remembers one time when he was a waiter and overheard Kujirai and Hajime's conversation. Kujirai was staring at the aquarium when Hajime suggested she have a pet goldfish. She told him that she couldn't have a pet because then she'd never be free to go anywhere and be bound to that pet forever. Hajime offered her the sequel of a book she read, to which she politely refused, saying she loved the story as it was now, and reading the sequel would change her perspective. Gwen asked if part 1 wasn't interesting to her. She replied that she loved the first part, and that it would be a shame if the prequel ended up being boring. She said she didn't want to change her world, not because she was scared of it, but only because she was satisfied with it. Hajime replied that she's naturally lucky. How can she be so sure she will not like it? He said he doesn't regret things, and he has always lived his life like that. Even when he loses, he never regrets. Kujirai smiled, saying that's exactly why she likes him, because he doesn't regret things and does what he wants. Gwen looked over the newspaper, saying out loud how the Hebanuma had decided to demolish Kowloon, and the residents were asked to evacuate. He asked Hajime what he was going to do now. Hajime replied that the company still hadn't told him what to do, and remembered that he had to meet Xiaohei. Both Gwen and Kujirai instructed him not to make her wait as he hurriedly went outside. Kujirai takes a long puff out of her cigarette and exhales the smoke. Gwen asked Kujirai if she was really not going to read the second part, even out of curiosity, to which she replied that no, she wouldn't. Her story is not going to end or continue. It simply is. And for her, that's enough. Remembering it, Gwen wonders what Miyuki could mean. He rings the bell of the store, saying he's here to pick up their package. Yaomei opens the door and says it must be hers, and she's coming to get it. She finds him super attractive as she blushes, looking at him. He says hello, lifting his cap up to see her. She asks for his name, to which he accidentally blurts out his real name because she was being super clingy on him, looking at him so closely because she finds him super attractive. When he tells her the real name, he thinks to himself that he should not have done that. She remembers something she heard a while ago. She remembers the description Reko had told her a while ago. She said he is tall, has long hair, and his name is Gwen. This is when the realization hits her, and she recognizes it's him. Thus, she shouts at him. She then asks if he's the server from the Goldfish Tea House. He answers that he is the worker there. She takes him with her to go see Reko. Gwen's secret identity lasted shorter than his patience. Later, sitting in a cafe drinking coffee, Yaomei calls Reko and tells her that she was trying to look for Gwen. And luck was on her side, as she had a delivery package and he happened to be the one who delivered it. Long story short, the boy blurted out his real name because of her clingy behavior, and that's how she spotted him. The girl then asks Gwen if he knows Kujirai by any means, or has he ever seen her. Thus, the boy replies that he knew the real one. She says that means she's the clone, and asks if he has a clone of himself as well. He says that it's not a clone of him, but something else he's also not aware of. The second version of himself is gone now, and that one is fake because he is real, and he is here. Yaomei argues that Reko is here, meaning she's also real. He replies that her case is different because the real Reko is dead. She tells him that Hajime said he killed her. Gwen tells her that they got engaged, and he didn't kill her. He asks if she's also in love with him. Reko argues that she likes him because of her own feelings, that she's not copying anyone. Gwen says she's right because she doesn't remind him of Reko. She looks like herself. With that, Reko remembers her break is about to end. She doesn't get to eat or do anything during her break time because she has to talk to Gwen. Hence, she leaves hurriedly. Gwen stares at the table for a long time, his thoughts circling endlessly. Gwen asks if Yao Mei has encountered any sort of danger since she came to Kowloon. She is busy eating the yummy cake in front of her. She stuffs it in her mouth as if this is clear to Gwen that she is being herself in Kowloon, and she refuses. She tells him how Reko helped her and told her how to feel more comfortable in her new skin by believing in herself, so she is always herself in this city. She adds that sometimes the best people come in broken forms, and sometimes all you need is someone who doesn't see the cracks in you. Gwen listens carefully, quietly absorbing every word she says. Kowloon's got clones, chaos, and cake. Honestly, what more does a city need? An advertisement shows Miyuki talking about generic Terra, how concrete memories are more important than an immortal body, and now memories can be regenerated due to this new project. Meanwhile, Hajime finds Reko eating the cup noodles he was saving for himself. He says she's been enjoying herself eating out, staying up, drinking with her friends, to which she replies that wrinkles mean she's getting old and living a good life. He smiles faintly, pretending to be annoyed, but in truth, her presence is a balm to him he didn't know he needed, and she is somehow healing something she did not break. Hajime tells him to restock the noodles since she enjoys them. She says to him that they both should go together tomorrow and buy noodles for themselves, thinking that laughing and eating make her who she is. He wonders what Hajime's life must feel like from his perspective, living with a stranger who has the same face as his dead fiancé. She thinks to herself how sad he must feel on the inside. He starts realizing he's become used to it. That maybe this is what moving on looks like, not forgetting, but surviving after losing someone so close to his heart. Miyuki visits Dr. Wong and asks if he can get pregnant. Dr. Wong informs him that despite having both male and female tools, it's not possible. Dr. Wong asks if he's asking because of generic Terra and shows his dislike toward it. He asks him if he can insert a uterus in him and then he will get pregnant. He still refuses. Yulong comes along to take Miyuki away privately. Miyuki tells him about his plans to revive his father's dead son, but he will not transfer his old memories to take revenge and hurt his father deeply. They talk about people who are able to perceive Kowloon. Miyuki says Gwen finds this Kowloon different from the one he lived in. Yulong tells him about Yao Mei and how she is a living celebrity in Kowloon, and how data shows that she mysteriously disappeared out of nowhere and started living in Kowloon. Miyuki says he doesn't remember her face, and notes that people who don't know Kowloon can also see it. While Yulong, who wants to see it, sadly can't do this. Yulong tells him that according to his theory, Kowloon must have appeared when it resonated with something, but they're not aware of what that something is yet. Miyuki leaves, telling Yulong to keep working on generic Terra. Yulong thinks about how Miyuki should start living for something other than revenge. He watches Miyuki's back as he walks away, weighed down by more than just secrets. Later, Hajime and Reko go to restock the cup noodles. They are both walking in the grocery sections of the supermarket when Reko tells him how every new dish has something Chinese and how she wants to broaden her palate. Hajime takes her to the noodles section and shows her the wide variety of instant noodles, starting from saag from India to Japanese sushi. She angrily tells him that they're all cup noodles. He laughs passionately, telling her that Japan should be proud of their invention like this because this makes everyone in the world get the taste of these epic instant noodles, offering her another flavor. She picks up a Thai tom yum one and raises an eyebrow. She turns the cup around, reading the ingredients with a theatrical sigh. Later on, she starts looking at the magazines, thinking if Yao Mei could go with her to all the places. She flips through one featuring mountain trails, imagining a life where she's just a tourist. Upon asking, she tells Hajime that she should go because he can't move on if he keeps seeing the face of his dead fiancé, and how much life must be so hard on her, and she does not want to be the one ruining his life. Hajime stops her, holds her hand, and begs her not to leave him. His voice is trembling, like someone who's held too much for too long. Just then, a loud crash is heard as they get out to find smoke coming from Sai-Hing Towers. Hajime runs toward the building, telling her to restock the noodles. Reko stands behind, staring at the smoke, clutching the packet of noodles in her hand as if it might offer some kind of answer. For a second, the world feels like it's crumbling again, and the cup noodles in her hand feel heavier than they should. Hajime tightens her grip around the packet of noodles, chaos everywhere. She's unsure what she should do about it. Gwen and Kudo sit together in a cafe. There, Gwen asks if Kudo is going to propose to Reiko. Thus, Kudo admits he had planned to, but now he can't bring himself to do it, because Kowloon is disappearing soon and everything feels uncertain now. Gwen gently asks if he truly knows Reiko. Kudo lowers his head, saying he only knows fragments of her, not the whole person. He regrets not proposing earlier, when things were simpler. Now, he's unsure of what to do. Realizing he may have pressured him, Gwen quickly apologizes. Kudo nods, saying it might be too soon anyway. He doesn't think it would make Reiko happy, especially with the Kowloon she loves about to vanish. He wants to restore Kowloon for her and then propose. Still, he knows it might just be wishful thinking. Gwen tells Kudo he should take the risk. Kudo asks if he really means it, and Gwen firmly says yes. The next day, Kudo rushes into a collapsed building, warning others to stay back. Amid the chaos, he runs into Gwen under a broken archway. Gwen hugs him tightly, asking if he's the real Kudo, thus Kudo asks the same. Gwen says he's missed him and suggests they leave Kowloon together to find peace, but Kudo refuses. When Gwen asks if it's because of Reiko, Kudo says it's more than that. He just doesn't want to leave. Gwen then shares that he found someone he loved too, but was abandoned and now feels lost. Kudo quietly admits he also loves someone, and for that person, he is willing to stay in Kowloon. On the way to clinic number 2, Kudo chats with a friend on the phone and casually mentions his checkup. But when the friend asks if he ever told his ex that he's from Kowloon, Kudo freezes. He quickly ends the call, suddenly trembling. He sits on a bench, gripping a water bottle, telling himself it's just heat stroke, but it doesn't feel like that. He's anxious, his vision blurs. Maybe, he thinks, he's still not over the breakup. As he sits there, fragments of memory flood back to him, memories of how he and Gwen first met. Gwen had spotted him sitting alone by the bay and approached him. He told Kudo that he knew a nicer place to eat and insisted that they go together. Kudo, uncertain but intrigued, agreed. Over food, Gwen suddenly confessed that he didn't even have much money, but he liked Kudo from the moment he saw him. That night, they ended up at Kudo's place. And when Gwen discovered Kudo had both male and female tools, he didn't flinch. He simply said that he liked him as he was and asked when they could meet again. This twist just pulled the rug, the floor, and the whole house out. When Miyuki wakes up one day, he finds himself lying on a couch in the dance club. Confused, he sits up and asks one of the dancers if they know someone named Sihun. The dancer shakes her head and says she doesn't know anyone by that name. Suddenly, Miyuki clutches his head in pain. The dancer, concerned, suggests that he go see Dr. Wong. Apparently, they found him unconscious by the roadside earlier. Just then, Kujirai walks in. She looks at him and quietly says his name, confirming that he is Miyuki. He nods and says he wanted to talk to her too. They sit down together, and Miyuki asks her what she wants to discuss. Kujirai hesitates, then asks him what a zirconia is. She also confesses that she sometimes wonders who she really is. Miyuki laughs gently and asks how she even knows that term. She explains that she has suspicions about herself and that a friend found something online that triggered these doubts. She shares that someone had compared her to the real Kujirai Reiko, and it's eating away at her. She admits that even Kudo has compared the two of them. Miyuki begins to suspect that Kudo might be his real self, the man who knew the original Kujirai, the same man Miyuki plans to take revenge on. Kujirai says she's trying her best to be her true self, but sometimes people recognize her or act strangely around her. Miyuki tells her that she should feel proud. If people already know who she is, then she should stand tall. He assures her that she is neither just a zirconia nor a clone. He tells her plainly that she's a posterior generic, something new and unique. Later, Miyuki's friend asks Dr. Wong whether he had ever treated the real Kujirai Reiko. The doctor shakes his head. He says he never got the chance. By the time she was brought in, she was already dead, and she apparently got fed up with life. When Kujirai learns the full truth about her condition, she gathers her friends and announces that she's going to move out of her apartment. She says it doesn't feel right to keep living in a space that once belonged to the real Kujirai. She doesn't want to take too much from her predecessor's life. The next day, she starts cleaning up, boxing away things that belong to the original Kujirai. As she's organizing a stack of books, there's a sudden knock at the door. It's Kudo. He tells her not to open it. As the date of August 31st looms over them, he solemnly explains that it's her death anniversary, the anniversary of the real Kujirai's passing. She listens in silence and, after some thought, changes her mind. She decides to stay in the apartment a little longer, perhaps out of respect, perhaps out of confusion. She later tells her friend about her decision and says she'll just make some small changes to the room, redecorate it a bit. Her friend gives her advice on how to brighten up the place, and they both chat about how this might be the start of Kujirai finally enjoying her own life. The next morning, the two of them head out to do some shopping. Just as Kujirai is about to step out of the building, something strange happens. Gwen suddenly appears out of nowhere, rushing toward her, and grabs her hand. He urgently tells her not to go any further. At that moment, a pizza delivery guy walks up with an order. He talks to Gwen and Kujirai's friend, acting like Kujirai isn't even there. Her friend looks puzzled and whispers, asking why the man is ignoring Kujirai. But he just shrugs and walks away. Gwen then explains to them that this version of Kowloon is known as the Walled City Kowloon 2, and it was officially demolished 3 years ago. Gwen tells them to look it up online. When they do, they find an article that matches his claim, but they're still skeptical. It feels too surreal. Gwen says something that shakes Kujirai to her core. It appears some people can see her, like Gwen and her friend, but others, like the pizza delivery guy, cannot. Her body tenses up. She steps back, trembling. Just then, she gets a vivid flashback of Kudo holding her hand tightly, telling her not to go anywhere, telling her to stay with him always. The realization hits her like a wave. She stands frozen, trying to comprehend the truth of who she really is and what's happening to the world around her. When Yaomei learns the truth, she can't accept it. Panic clouds her mind as she runs through the streets, desperate for something real. Then she sees Kujirai. Without thinking, she grabs her hand. The warmth and weight of it feels solid, undeniable. If she can touch her, then she must be real. In that moment, it's the only thing Yaomei can believe. Gwen watches them silently, then shares what he discovered. Kujirai, he explains, cannot truly exist in this Kowloon. Some people in the city don't even perceive her. It was confusing at first, so he ran a test. He brought both the original and the cloned Kujirai into the same Kowloon, but the cloned one disappeared immediately. She could only exist in alternate Kowloons, not in the presence of the original. Gwen explains that this Kujirai hasn't vanished because the original is dead. That's why the clone can stay. But the truth only brings more questions, leaving Kujirai and Yaomei shaken. Yaomei refuses to accept it. Without a word, she walks away to find the truth herself. Gwen returns to his apartment, leaving Kujirai alone in silence. On her way home, Kujirai runs into Kudo. She says she tried to reconnect with Yaomei, but it didn't work. Kudo doesn't press for details and invites her to get dumplings. At the food stall, Kujirai eats slowly, surprised she can taste everything. The steam, the spices, the air all feel real. But Gwen said she shouldn't exist in this Kowloon. The thought troubles her. Meanwhile, Kudo recalls a memory. Apparently, the real Kujirai, his old lover, used to secretly take pills at night for insomnia. He once promised to make her laugh so much she'd fall asleep naturally. But, sadly, he never got the chance to fulfill this promise. On the other hand, Miyuki visits his father's house, which is filled with old photos. One shows him as a child with his parents. He calls Yulong for answers. Thus, Yulong says Kujirai died from an overdose of medication prescribed by Dr. Wong. But Wong denies giving such high doses, and shows records that don't match what happened. Miyuki listens quietly, thinking about Kujirai and Reiko. He feels their meeting in Kowloon wasn't random, it was meant to happen. He also admits he hates his father, calling him disgusting. From a distance, a sniper watches Kujirai and Kudo through her scope. She briefly aims at some children, then shifts back. Before she can act, a call comes in. The voice calls her Siahe and gives her a new mission to observe Kujirai. She agrees without hesitation. On the other end, Miyuki's father ends the call and mutters that he won't be underestimated, even in old age. He's proof that just because you've lived long doesn't mean you've lived right. Later, Kudo invites Kujirai to sing karaoke with him. She agrees, walking beside him, but her mind drifts again. Gwen's words echo in her head that she doesn't exist, but she can smell, taste, and feel everything. The world interacts with her. Still, fear creeps in. What if Yaome comes back and doesn't recognize her anymore? What if Kowloon itself forgets she was ever there? They walk past the building Kudo mentioned before. He talks about how they fixed it, but when he turns, Kujirai has stopped walking. She seems distant, and he asks if she's all right, wondering if she's in pain. She recalls a warning he once gave her, telling her not to go anywhere. She asks why he said that, and he hesitates. Instead of replying, he embraces her tightly. It's a quiet promise that he won't leave her behind. She tells him that as long as he stays, she can stay too, no matter where or what she is. Kudo reassures her with the thought that even if the entire world fades away, he'll remain with her. On a train leaving Kowloon, Yaome gazes out the window, deep in thought. She once wished for a place where no one knew her. That wish brought her to Kowloon. She remembers arriving on a cold night, then waking 6 months later in summer. She always wore light dresses under the blazing sun with endless blue skies. Most of all, she remembers how Kujirai helped her find her true self. When Yaome reaches the station, she tries to pay for her return trip, but the machine beeps that it has insufficient balance. She gets confused. Thus, she checks her card and phone, but nothing adds up. It's like the data is vanishing. Panicked, she calls Gwen. The boy calmly tells her that money from Kowloon doesn't work outside because it was never real here. Stunned, Yaome leaves the station, stranded in a world where no one knows her and everything she had is gone. Determined to make sense of the absurdity, she begins to ask people around her if they've ever heard of Kowloon. But every person she approaches stares at her blankly, shaking their heads or giving polite apologies before walking away. No one has even heard the name, let alone visited or known someone who has. It's as if the place doesn't exist here, as if she imagined it. Just as she's about to give up, an old man seated at a quiet corner near a newspaper stand looks up at her. There's something different in his eyes. When she asks him about Kowloon, he nods slowly, but his eyes dart around cautiously. He leans in and tells her that it's not safe to talk here, not in the open. He scribbles something onto a piece of paper and slips it to her, an address of an internet cafe nearby. Following his instructions, Yaome goes to a small, quiet internet cafe. She searches for Kowloon but finds nothing. Every link is gone. Posts are cut off. It's like someone is erasing it all. Then a message pops up from someone anonymous that he believes her, and he is also trying to prove Kowloon exists for a friend. It gives her hope. She replies, and they start talking more. Yaome tells him everything, how time moved strangely in Kowloon, how the sky was too perfect, and how a floating general always hovered in the distance. She talks about Kujirai, the girl who helped her feel alive again. A clone of Kudo's lover, someone who wasn't supposed to be real but meant everything to Yaome. What the girl doesn't know is that the person she's messaging is Yulong, sitting in the next room. He doesn't interrupt her. The boy quietly takes notes, watching as each message from Yaome arrives. The tone of her voice in the chat is clear, sincere, and full of emotion. He records every piece of information she gives. When she finally pauses and suggests that they exchange contact information, Yulong agrees, keeping his true identity hidden. He says nothing that would expose himself. To her, he is just another nameless ally in the void. But behind the screen, he's building a record one that might lead to answers. Or perhaps deeper truths no one wants to face. The next morning, Kujirai lies asleep next to Kudo. Her phone buzzes. It's Yaome. She says she's back and needs to meet. Kujirai agrees and sets her phone down. When Kudo wakes, he wraps his arms around her and kisses her, unaware of what lies ahead. Reiko is at the market when Kudo meets her, and they head to her house together. There, she makes pancakes, which Kudo enjoys and compliments. Reiko tells him it's her mother's recipe, a cherished memory, as her parents died when she was young. When Kudo asks if thinking about them makes her sad, Reiko surprises him by saying no and states that she is too weak to feel sad, but she is not the type to leave a book unfinished. Curious, Kudo asks why she changed. Reiko replies that this used to be her way of thinking. She was about to say something more, but then she suddenly got up and left. Kudo sits there, wondering what she wants to say. After a while, Kudo is sitting outside. There, he is thinking about Reiko. The next day, Reiko meets Yaome and Gwen. She asks Yaome what she found out in Hong Kong. At this, the girl gets sad and informs them that everyone told her that Kowloon Walled City was demolished 3 years ago. After this, she tells them that she met someone online who wants to prove that Kowloon actually exists. At that moment, the waitress served them iced coffee. However, Yaome wasn't drinking it because she isn't sure whether these things exist or not. Even if they seem so realistic, they don't know what the ingredients are and what effect they will have on their bodies. Even after knowing all this, the girl drinks the coffee since she wants to believe that this is all real. However, after drinking the coffee, she starts acting strangely. Meanwhile, Yulong receives a message from Yaome, a series of odd texts. As he reads them, he realizes something is wrong, that she's been devoured, most likely by the food. The boy wonders why she would eat something she knew was dangerous. Then it hits him that she has a friend in Kowloon. It must have been because of her that Yaome ignored the warning signs and took the risk. That means just developing an interest in that place might be enough to get someone devoured. At the gift shop, Miyuki tries to buy presents, but can't pay. Since he doesn't have cash, the e-payment system is down. Gwen suddenly appears and offers to help, but Miyuki quickly leaves. Gwen follows him into an alley, warning him not to eat or drink anything, and revealing that Mr. Kudo is the original. Miyuki calmly replies that he already knows, then walks off. As he continues, he realizes the road looks familiar, and soon finds himself in front of the Wong Clinic. Just then, Yulong calls, asking why he's in Kowloon instead of Hong Kong. Miyuki ignores the questions and walks away from that area. On the other hand, Reiko and Yaome are having lunch. Reiko informs the girl that Kudu has proposed to her. While they are talking, Xiaohei comes there to inspect the fire alarm system, but after seeing so many dresses, he becomes memorized. Meanwhile, Gwen grows frustrated with Miyuki, feeling he's changed since arriving in Kowloon. Remembering Yaome's odd behavior after drinking coffee, Gwen suspects that eating things there leads to losing one's mind. But then, he wonders, why hasn't Kudu lost his sanity? Determined to find answers, Gwen starts packing his bag to meet Kudo. Xiaohei is wondering what he should tell his master. Because fake Reiko is different from the real Reiko. This girl is living in her own way in this city. What unsettles him is how real everything feels in this world. Some roads are missing, others are perfectly copied. Even the people follow this pattern, like Reiko, whom Miyuki seems drawn to, despite the real one being dead. Xiaohei had met the original, so he knows the difference. What disturbs him most is that the dead are being recreated as if they never died. Apparently, Miyuki and Xiaohei's master's plan is to recreate the deceased. The boy feels that Zirconian can achieve this. However, the premise is that they have to stay in the generic Kowloon. Xiaohei informs his master of all this. He tells his master that Miyuki once conducted an experiment. The man found out the original of a replicated resident and brought him into the generic Kowloon to test whether the generic and original could coexist. Nonetheless, the result was that the generic vanished without a trace. In other words, they can't coexist in this Kowloon. Xiaohei tells the man that items manufactured there vanish once they are taken outside. Things that don't vanish could be items brought in from the outside or that originally existed in that place, because many shops left their stock behind when evacuating. So, according to this theory, existences like generic Kujirai are very likely to vanish once they go outside. Xiaohei informs his master that, in terms of creating Zirconian, Reiko is very important, so if she vanishes, then it would be a problem for them. His master orders him to find other generics and take them outside to verify this theory. He then tells the boy that if he can't find any other generic, then he can use Reiko. Miyuki and Yulong are together. Yulong asks the man if he regrets entering the Hebanuma family and everything up until now. At this, Miyuki gets angry and states that it's too late to turn back now. After arguing with Yulong, he leaves from there. Meanwhile, Yulong takes out a device from under his table and states that he wants to choose the path he won't regret. Meanwhile, Yulong's words have fazed Miyuki as he is questioning the choices he had made. The next day, Kudu goes to Reiko's house. There, he feels nostalgic thinking about the original Reiko. Hence, he abruptly leaves her house. The girl gets sad at this. She then takes out the original Reiko's things and puts on her glasses. But something strange happened, and she became startled. Meanwhile, Yulong stops Xiaohei in the hallway and shows him the bugging device he found in his room. Xiaohei gets panicked at this, yet he still tries to act innocent. However, Yulong knows he is the one who is eavesdropping on them. Hence, he confronts the boy and tells him to join his side. Further, he tells the boy that he will protect him from Hebanuma and also gives him a higher reward. At this, Xiaohei nervously asks him what he wants him to do. Surprisingly, Yulong tells the boy to help him eliminate fake Reiko. Kudo and two other men are playing cards, while one of them tells the others that someone in the north escaped at midnight and the North Yuanshan Tower has become unsafe in Kowloon, as gambling, prostitution, and illegal drugs are common there, so to be safe, they need to avoid that area. Reiko hands a box to the landlady, hoping she likes the present. The landlady tells Reiko that people often think escaping is best, even if it repays kindness with enmity to those who helped them, yet they still choose to do so, and that is enviable. Meanwhile, the landlady's cat arrives for snack time. She treats her and questions Reiko, recalling she's good at mahjong and never loses. She asks if Reiko has won the game of life. Reiko replies that the results will be revealed later. Kudo rushes to Reiko, angry after hearing from the branch manager that she went to see the landlady. She went because the landlady was familiar to her. Hajime warns her not to go to that area alone anymore, as it's too dangerous. Yulong questions Xiaohei if he can help eliminate the fake Reiko Kujirai. He denies it, but the man tells him that even after doing so, he won't be a murderer, as she is a generic witch and doesn't exist in real life. Xiaohei claims that after meeting Reiko in Kowloon, he doesn't think that way. The man keeps convincing him and even offers any price. He changes the topic and asks if Xiaohei likes dressing up, as he works part-time to buy clothes. He shows pictures of Xiaohei's clothes and tells him they look like a mess. Xiaohei feels that keeping clothes that no longer fit only increases attachment. The man tells Xiaohei that generic Kowloon recreates Kowloon from 3 years ago, and there should be a generic Xiaohei with that older appearance. He asks if Xiaohei wants to go back to that look. Exciting Xiaohei, possibly if one uses the generic terrain. Yaomei finds Xiaohei sitting on the street, hiding his face. She asks if he's unwell or upset. She offers ice cream to cheer him up, but Xiaohei gets angry and throws it. He tells her he never wants anything to happen that makes her sad. He leaves, and Yaomei is shocked, wondering if that's a romantic encounter. Reiko calls Yaomei crying and screaming that she saw something strange in the original Reiko's glasses. Thus, Yaomei questions if she saw something strange through them. At this, Reiko agrees. Yaomei tries on the glasses, but they appear ordinary to her. Reiko sees a cat through them and tells Yaomei she saw a wall and a hand trying to reach her to tear off the charm. They consider Kujirai B's perspective, as she saw something similar once. Reiko looks for Kudo, who hasn't returned from an assignment. She wonders if he's avoiding her. She wears her glasses as Kudo arrives and invites her to lunch, but she declines, saying she's having dinner with Yaomei. He leaves, and Reiko is happy seeing his reaction, which Kujirai B hasn't seen before, though there are still expressions only Kujirai B noticed. Later, Reiko puts her glasses on, and the girls wait to see what she'll see. Reiko sees the North Yuanshan Tower, with poor security, and she has properties there. Though Kudo is in charge, he once warned her to avoid it. Yaomei and Reiko visit that area at night. Reiko feels scared and says they should have come during the day. Yaomei grows suspicious, since Kudo never lets Reiko near that area, as he must be hiding something. Reiko thinks they may discover Kujirai B's death there. She sees the wall and tells Yaomei the charm on it has appeared in many places. They focus on learning about Kujirai B to understand why Reiko looks like her. Reiko tells Yaomei that's the place she saw through the glasses. Suddenly they hear footsteps, and it appears Xiaohei is there. He tells them it's unsafe for them to be alone there. Yaomei asks if he can give them a ride back to the city. At Yuanhua Tea Restaurant, Yaomei and Reiko discuss what Reiko saw with Gwen. They mention their visit to the North Yuanshan Tower and ask if Kujirai B often went there. As Kudo warned Reiko not to go, Gwen says Kujirai B worked there, and her death is still unclear. He says he didn't like her as he couldn't figure her out and couldn't trust her. She had an aura of death. After her death, he regrets not staying close to Kudo and still wishes to spend summers with him. Reiko asks Gwen about Kujirai's situation. Gwen felt sorry for Reiko as he was rude at first, thinking she'd harm Kudo. But after speaking with her, he realized she's very different from Kujirai B. Reiko's posture, voice, and looks are exactly like Kujirai's, which Gwen thinks may hurt Kudo. Meanwhile, Diaohei arrives for a routine fire checkup, and Yaomei introduces him to Gwen. Gwen then gets up to leave, thus Reiko asks him to tell Kudo to talk to her. Reiko doesn't seem okay to Yaomei. Reiko says it's Kujirai B's death anniversary, and she thinks she shouldn't stay near Kudo anymore. Yaomei consoles her as it's not Reiko's or Kudo's fault. She asks if Reiko regrets sleeping with him. Reiko says she doesn't regret it and never will, but she still feels pain in her chest. Reiko reflects on Gwen's words. Kudo approaches and asks why she isn't wearing the glasses. At this, Reiko asks to become regular colleagues as she feels Kudo sees her as just another worker. Their relationship has been strange since they slept together. She promises never to hurt him and walks away. Reiko goes to the field for work and finds a note with error code 202. Along the way, she keeps thinking why she looks like Kujiraibi, why she was born, why Kujiraibi took off before her wedding, and what truly caused her death. At the end of the day, she gathers 30 notes, 20 are blank, 9 say 403, and 1 says 202. She truly wants to stay by Kudo's side and not harm him because she isn't Kujiraibi. Then she sees the wall from the glasses with a note that warns her not to look for any more notes.